some success stories from your program and other programs too. And so I'm totally ready to make this change.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I know it really can be such an emotional journey. And that's what I say, to all the clients I speak with. It's like you said, you spend all this time trying not to get pregnant. And then all of a sudden you try to get pregnant, and it can be so difficult. And it really is such an emotional, and an exhausting journey. It really can be. So thank you for sharing that with us. So I'm curious, what was your biggest fertility challenge prior to coming into the program?
I think the biggest and hardest thing for me was trying to understand that from before, being told that I wouldn't be able to conceive on my own. And that it was going to take extra steps in order to get there. And I had a really hard time accepting that, because I wanted to be like those women out there, like, yep, okay, I'm going to try first month, second month, and it's going to work for me. And hearing that it was going to take a lot longer for me in doing certain things to help, that was really hard. Like changing my physical activity also too was a big, oh really? Like, is this really have to happen? Because I'm all about that, especially for de-stressing. And so that was really hard too. I don't know. I feel like there was always a fear of not being able to conceive. And now I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that I will be that lady one day that will be announcing on Facebook or Instagram or yelling outside being like, I'm pregnant.
It's me this time.
It's hard. Like, it's so hard when you're seeing announcements after announcements. And I love all my best friends and all my family, but it was really hard accepting that, they're getting pregnant, going on 2, going on 3, and you got to just sit back and take a breather and relax and be like, when it will be. And seeing the light of the tunnel and reading a lot too really helped. But yeah, it was really hard to put in the back of my head that it was going to take a little bit more time for me.
Yeah. You can really get stuck inside your head, right? It's like you can go down such a rabbit hole when we start telling ourselves certain things. And yeah.
And that's the thing. And everyone's like, oh, like, just, get it off your mind kind of thing. It's really, when you're struggling for this long, it's really hard to get it off your mind, right? You try to do every single thing. Yeah, like the first year was probably one of the hardest years of my life, to be honest. I really had a really hard time. I don't think I've ever gone through depression before, and I'll admit it, I did. And I seeked help eventually, but it was tough. You shadow away. You don't want to be known as that person. And I think going publicly, to be honest, I found out there were so many more people out there that were struggling, because not a lot of people talk about it. And I think that's what a lot of people thanked me for, was like, thank you for opening up, because I couldn't do it. Back then I could not do it. And now that you're sharing your story and open about it, like, you are opening up to that many more people to be open. So I hope that will help others too along the way.
Yeah, that's
not me.
That's such an important point, because we get stuck in kind of this really bad negative cycle. There's so much shame around infertility and miscarriage. And so, so many women, we blame ourselves. I know I did the same thing when I was going through it. And I didn't even want anybody to know when I was pregnant, because I didn't want to have the conversation if I lost the baby. And I didn't want to have, I would be embarrassed, and then the shame and the guilt and all of the things. And so you just withdraw and you don't talk to anybody. And then you end up down an even worse rabbit hole, because you aren't talking to anyone. And so you're just stuck with what's in your head and all of the negative without, and you feel alone, you feel isolated. So that's such a good point.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's amazing advice for people, just to take the risk and reach out and share. And like, our group is such a safe place to do that. We hope everybody feels safe doing that, because it does. It makes a huge difference. So that's
it does. It really, really does. And I think that's what's really helped me along this way too, is just being that much open to it. So, and joining and not being afraid to join other things.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of that and speaking of, like joining the Fertile method. So you've talked about a lot of different things that you tried, right? So acupuncture, which you're still doing, which is awesome. You started doing yoga, you cut out, a lot of the intense exercise, you started meditating, like, all of these things that you did. What made you continue to seek out a solution and end up, finding us?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I've had, I think it's because, it probably could be Facebook too, but I think because I was researching a lot into different groups, so many more groups had been popping up, and I came across you guys. And to be honest, like, I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I can get into something else. Like, maybe I should just, sit and wait for a little bit. But every time you'd pop up and I would start reading different things, and the one email about coming on Zoom and doing an open consult and talking about the egg quality, I was, it's COVID. I was like, I have nothing else to do. Like, what is it going to hurt going on and hearing and listening? And like, maybe this will open my eyes to something different. And that's what I did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm just going to bear in it and do it. And, hopefully I can maybe talk to some people or meet some new people and see how I feel. And to be honest, my husband walked in when this was going on, and he sat behind and listened. And after we got
a master class?
Yeah. And after
that's awesome.
Like, maybe we should. Like, we've tried everything. You've tried everything. What is it to hurt? Like, what are you hurting? What, you're gonna learn some new recipes. You're gonna learn some new things about your body that maybe you don't know about. And he said, there's so many women that can support you on this group. And like, I'm a very social butterfly. So it's been very hard for me during COVID not to like see my friends and like just talk to them, or like see people and talk to them. And the fact that I get to go on once a week to talk to you, even though it's on screen, I absolutely love it. Like, I look forward to it. And I think that was like one thing I liked, is I was like, okay, like, these people are in the same boat I am, struggling and trying to figure out about their bodies in order to conceive. So why not I join? So I did. That's kind of what I did. And I just thought about it. Mark, my husband, and I sat down and we just said, like, yeah, we put in a lot of investment for having kids, but maybe this is something that can really help us and make me understand a lot more. And I did. Like, the first class, learning about my gut, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is incredible. Like, I didn't know so much about my gut. Maybe that's why, like, all these other issues are happening. Like, because I knew about my egg quality. I knew it wasn't the best. Now, I had surgery, laparoscopic surgery, actually a year in July. And it's helped since then. Like, I when I did my retrieval and got my eggs and stuff like that, they found a difference out of it in my egg quality. But like, learning about just that masterclass, I was like, oh my goodness, like, this could be a winner. To be honest, I was like, I got this. I can do this. This is cool. I can commit. Like, this is COVID. I like hearing emails every day and being like boosted up. And that's the thing. Like, you get more and more confidence when like people are just like, yeah, okay, like, what are your wins this week? Or like, you did great this week. Like, you need that, especially. And if you're not going through that struggle, you don't get that. Like, you don't have any understanding of that.
Yeah.
Until you're actually in your shoes of struggling. You're like, okay, this makes me feel so much better. I'm not alone. Like, I'm feeling more confident and stuff. So that's kind of where it all wrapped around and happened. And I had a call with Melissa the first time, and I just kind of gave her my blinks of everything, and of course my fears and stuff like that. And when I got the phone, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And then all I kept thinking was about like, this could change something, like, you know, like maybe I should just go with it. And I think that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do another call and listen in, and then I'll make the decision. And I finally was like, I'm doing it.
That's what I was going to ask you, because when we were on, I did your consult, when we first did your consult, you know, you were a little hesitant. It was, you know, I could tell that there was some resistance going on there. And we get that a lot. And, you know, a lot of women probably that are even listening to this are going to, you know, feel like they have a little bit of resistance to wanting to go into a program because it can be scary, right? There's a lot of things that are unknown, and there's fear of change and fear of what if this can't happen. So I'm curious if you could share a little bit about like what your biggest resistance to joining the program was at first and how you were able to overcome that. Because I think that would be really important for other women to hear as well.
I think it was the investment. And at the same time too, like changing again. Like what else am I changing here? What else? What's that different thing that I have to do? Am I going to be able to do it? Am I going to be able to commit to it? And I think that was a worry for me because going into the program, I wanted to make sure that I was bringing my whole self in and that I was committed to it and I was going to stick to it. And so I needed myself to be ready for that. And until I could talk to myself about it and go through the different messages and hear other people that were successful through your program, I was like, I can do this. And I literally thought like, I'll take it step by step, like day by day. And for me, I feel like I have a hard time with like, I want to get there and I'm going to get there tomorrow. And I think a lot of us are like that because it's like you want to get there and it has to happen like tomorrow. Like, no, it's not in 8 weeks, tomorrow. I want this all finished tomorrow. And I think you just have to have an understanding that it's not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in a month. It could take a couple months to get there. And I think until you put yourself through that and make you understand that, then you'll be able to succeed more. And I think that was my look upon it, is like, I can do this. I'm going to take it day by day. If I make a mistake, you know, I'll change it for the better for tomorrow. And I think that's how I did it. And like, don't get me wrong, like there were some recipes where I'm like, oh my God, I can't find that. Like, oh my God, what am I going to use? Like, but it's like, it's the starting point. Like the fact that I actually went ahead and I did the recipe and I followed through with all the different steps. Yeah, I wasn't able to add maybe 1 or 2 ingredients to it, but the fact that I made this recipe from the group, I was like, oh my God, this is a huge accomplishment. And I think that's why it would make me be like, okay, I can't wait for the next recipes. Like, can I see all of them?
You bring up a really good point though, because you know, a lot of women coming into the program, they want a quick fix. And I think that that's just human nature. We want to be able to